So in this video, we're going to talk about just examples, more examples of the general form of the equation in the circle. So what we're going to do is we're going to write the following in center radius form and then graph if it's possible. So I have these four examples that I'm going to go through in this video. And so I gave a full breakdown of circles and the general form in my lesson video. You can look in the description for a link to that. So this video is just intended to be extra examples to go with that video. So if you feel like this is going too fast, check out my lesson video where I give like a slower, more complete breakdown if you want to see all those details. So, you can get this at whatever speed you need. All right, so let's get into these four examples. So I'll go ahead and start with A. So this one looks intimidating, I know, and it looks intimidating because the general form does not generally have this 4. Right, we usually start with x squared and y squared, so that's just kind of odd. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what we would normally do in that we're going to kind of rearrange everything. So I'm going to put the x's together, so I've got 4x squared and 4x. I've got 4y squared and 16y, and then that 19 I'm going to send over to the other side. All right, so next what we're going to do is to make this something that we can actually work with, we're actually going to factor the 4 out. And this is going to make things tricky. I'm not going to lie to you. So we just want to stay on our toes when we factor out that 4. And I'm having problems writing here. Okay, so I just factored out the 4 for right now. Now, from here, we're going to complete the square. So we complete the square twice. We complete the square here, and we complete the square here. So we're going to go through all the motions for that. So to complete the square, the first thing that you want to do is identify what's in the b position. And that's just whatever is attached to your non-squared variable. So in this case, I am going to take the b here is the 1, is the coefficient. And then we take half b. So we take half of whatever b was. So half of 1 is just 1/2. And then we square that result. So half b squared. So to do that, I just squared the top and the bottom of this fraction. So this becomes 1/4, okay? All right, now before I go any farther, I need to do this one more time for the y's. So now for the y's, what's in my b position is the 4. Half of that 4 would be 2, and then squaring that result will give me 4. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to be careful with this, and I want to help you understand like why this works the way it does. So what I want to do is now I want to rewrite these sets of parentheses with that half b squared. So notice in this set of parentheses, this 1/4, I just added it right in here, okay? And then for this other set of parentheses, I'm going to write the +4. Okay, now here's the deal. We've got this 19 on the other side, and I have to keep this equation balanced. Now normally I would just add the 4 and I would add the 1/4 to the other side. But in this case, remember we have these 4's in front. So ultimately, what would have to happen, right, is that, like, in theory, right, all of this gets distributed back in. So I'm bringing this up. I want you to kind of, like, visualize, that eventually we would ideally distribute that 4 back in. Because when I add a number to this other side over here, what I have to do is I have to take into account now not only this number that I added, but also the fact that I need to bounce it off of the 4 here. You got it? So if I take 4 times 1/4, what does that give me? That gives me 1, and then if I take 4 times 4, that gives me 16. And now I'm good to go. So let's write what I've got now. I've got 4. I can go ahead now and factor this. People get a little nervous about factoring this, and here's the hint that I always give to everybody. If you're like, oh, I don't know how this factors because it has a fraction and it's breaking my brain, this is the reason why we do all of this work here. When you factor this, you always take whatever the 1/2 b is. So to factor this, this becomes x plus 1/2. Done. So you can always rely on it being that 1/2 b. And then here this will be y plus 4. Oops, and these should both be squared. You see how this plus 4, that was, oops, sorry, this should be y plus 2. Sorry, my bad. So you see how that's my 1/2 b. So in both of these cases, when I factor this, I use the 1/2 b. Okay, and then let's see, 19 plus 1 is 20, and then 20 plus 16 is 36. Okay, so now I would like to get rid of those 4s, and they've kind of been bothering me, and now check it out, I can easily get rid of those 4s. So what I can do now is I can divide each part of this problem by 4, and 36 is divisible by 4, so let me clear some space. Okay, and so now let's just sort this out. So here the 4s drop out, the 4s drop out, and then 36 divided by 4, that just equals 9. So this whole equation now becomes x plus 1/2 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 9. And so now this I can easily graph. Here my center will be negative 1/2, negative 2. Remember, you always take the opposite sign of whatever is in this set of parentheses. And then to get the radius, I take the square root of this number. So the radius is going to be equal to 3. So I'll just draw a tiny little sketch of this. So let's see. So I'll just write 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so negative 1/2, negative 2 is here. And then I'm just going to kind of approximate this. So let's see, 1, 2, 3. Let's say I go up 3 that way. This is totally not to scale. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. This is going to look really weird, 1, 2, 3. Okay, but I go 3, oh my god, 3 in each direction. That might be the worst circle I think I've ever drawn on YouTube. I'm like embarrassed by this. Let's pretend this is actually the center. Let's pretend I drew this properly to scale. But so I started with the center, and then I went out 3 in each direction just as like markers. So I'm just running out of space on the screen here, but hopefully you get the idea. Okay. So, all right, let's move on to this next example. So this is kind of our ideal. We just have x squared and y squared, so that's super nice. So, you know, I like to kind of arrange everything so that we have everything lined up all nicely. Okay, and so then we're going to have our complete the square party. So here, what's in the b position, that's negative 4. If I take half of that, that's negative 2. And if I square that result, that gives me positive 4. So negative 2 squared, that's negative 2 times negative 2, that becomes positive 4. And then for this pair here, it's actually the same thing, right? So negative 4, 1/2 b is negative 2, 1/2 b squared is still 4. Cool. Now, in this case, this is a much simpler problem because we don't have those like numbers that we factored out and like, dealing with all that. So this is kind of a nicer problem in some ways. So let's see. I'll go ahead and I'll add 4 here. And I will add the other 4 here. And then on the other side, so I just want to keep everything balanced. So I'm going to add 4 and 4. So again, I color code them just so that you remember this 1/2 b squared and this 1/2 b squared. So I like to color code it just so you can kind of follow where all the information's coming from. Okay, so now each one of these I can go ahead and factor. So this will be x minus 2 squared and y minus 2 squared, and this equals 0. Okay, and so now when you get a 0, that means that you no longer have a circle to graph, you just have a single point. And so in this case, the point, you just read off what the center would be. The point here is 2, 2, so that would be it. Okay, so let's move on to C here. Now, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming that you're probably watching this because you're trying to figure out how this works, especially if you're still watching at this point. So the best way to learn how to work this is to actually try it. So what I recommend now is you've watched 2 examples. If you're trying to get the most out of this, I think you should pause, give it a try. The worst that happens is that you get stuck, but you'll learn way more from this if you take a moment to actually try it versus just watching me do all of it. Math is not a spectator sport. So pause, give it a try, hit play when you're ready. All right, so you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and just put my letters together and then put the number on the other side, all that good stuff, and then we'll go ahead and start our completing the square party. So my b here is 2, my 1/2 b is 1, and then my 1/2 b squared is equal to 1. And then for this other set, this other pair, so my b is -4, my 1/2 b is -2, and my 1/2 b squared is 4. I'm running out of room. Okay, so now I can start adding things. So I've got x squared plus 2x plus 1. And then I've got y squared minus 4y plus 4 equals -18. And then we just want to keep balance to the equation. So plus 1 plus 4. And so then I can factor each one of these. So this factors as, oops, I cannot write today. Sometimes it's like the coffee just doesn't kick in. Okay, so now I've factored everything. So again, just pointing this out, plus 1, that's the 1/2 b, right? And then the -2, that's the 1/2 b. So you can always refer back to that as kind of a cheat sheet. All right, and so this equals -13. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so the dramatic music is because this is a negative number. This is supposed to be a radius. So radius can't be negative, right? So the second you get a negative number, what that means is that this graph does not exist. Womp womp. Aw, all that work for nothing. Okay, so that's another conclusion. All right, so I have one more here for us, and this is another one of those kind of tricky ones. I think this one's really tricky actually, because when you factor out that 9, it's gonna get a little fractiony. So I recommend that you try this. Hit play when you get stuck, if you get stuck. So try to see if you surprise yourself. So the first thing that I'm going to do, of course, I'm going to group everything together. So that part's a no-brainer. We know I'm going to do that. Okay, and then I've got 9s here. I don't want 9s here, so I'm going to factor out those 9s. Now, you may have figured this out right away, so maybe you even stopped right away because you're like, I don't know how to factor out the 9. So you've got to figure out how you're actually going to factor the 9 out of here. So the easiest way to do that is to just write 12 over 9. Because then if I were to distribute this 9 back in, that would get me back to 12. Now, 12 over 9 does simplify, right? So 12 over 9, let's see, I can divide the top and bottom by 3, so that becomes 4 over 3. So I'm going to write this as 4 over 3. All right, and we will deal with the rest of that later. All right, and then here, when I factor out 9, so I get all this, and then this equals 23. Okay, so once again, we're going to go through the motions of trying to find our half b's. So let's see. In this case, my b is 4/3, and my half b, so maybe this is messing with your head a little bit. So don't be afraid to get your hands dirty with the algebra or with the arithmetic. If you have to write out more detail, write out more detail. So what does it mean to be 1/2 times 4/3? Maybe you actually need to write that calculation out. No problem, okay? More detail to help you understand it is always better than just trying to do it in your head and be a hero. So I'm going to cancel these out. So what this just leaves me with is 2/3. So this is 2/3. And then when I square this, I'm literally just squaring the top and the bottom. So 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9. All right, so that was kind of the tricky part. I would recommend that you try to finish this. I've given you a lot of hints of how to finish this, so how to factor and all that stuff. Again, I like it when you don't always surprise yourself in math, but you do surprise yourself from time to time, but you'll never surprise yourself if you don't try. So give it a go. If you don't get it, the worst that happens is that you've got a little bruised ego, which is really not that bad, but give it a try, see if you can finish it, and then hit play when you're ready. All right, so I'm going to finish this. So let's see, b, -2, 1/2 b is -1, and then 1/2 b squared is equal to 1. All right, so now we've got to first add the half b's to both of these, right? So I add the half b there. And then I add, let's see, y squared minus 2y. So I'm going to add a 1 here. And now, for that moment of truth, what do I add to the 23? So remember, you've got to bounce these off of the number in front here. Now, thankfully, this calculation actually is not too bad. What is 9 times 4 over 9? The 9's just cancel out, right? So on this side, it's going to be plus 4. And then I take 1 times the 9, so it's going to be plus 9. All right, cool. So now the other part that makes people a little nervous, how does this factor? Well, remember, I told you that, I keep telling you about that trick, that really handy trick. If you have no idea how this factors, yes, you do. You just refer to what that half b is. This is like a little cheat sheet for you. So this becomes x plus 2/3 squared. And then this factors as x minus 1, or y minus 1 squared. And then, let's see, so 23 plus 4 is 27, 27 plus 9 is 36. Okay, cool. And then can I divide everything by 9? Yes, I can. That all just came together swimmingly. Okay, cool. So let me clear some space. So this will simplify, oops, let me write in the right color. It simplifies to x plus 2/3 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 4. So my center is negative 2/3 1, and my radius is 2. So let's see if I can just draw another monstrosity of a graph. Let's see if I can actually set up a decent scale this time versus that other really sad graph that I drew. Okay, so negative 2/3 and 1, so I just kind of approximate where that's at. And then I'm going to count out 2 in each. So 1, 2, 1, 2, let's see, that's going to be 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to draw a circle. All right, well, it's certainly not as bad as my other circle. I'm telling you guys, it's a lot of pressure to draw a circle when you're trying to record something. Okay, so hopefully now you feel like you've got a pretty good handle on working with these types of equations. So that brings us to the end of this video. If you found that helpful, please consider leaving a like. If you got any questions or any feedback, you can always just leave a comment. I always love it when you guys share the videos or you subscribe to the channel. And otherwise, I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks for watching.